3 denials, 1 charcoal fire, and a breakfast that changed everything. The story of failure and redemption we're diving into today completely transforms how we think about second chances.
You know what's fascinating about that charcoal fire detail? It's the same Greek word used only twice in the New Testament here, and during Peter's denial. The smell must have brought back such vivid memories.
That's exactly right, and historians tell us that smell is actually the sense most strongly connected to memory. Jesus wasn't just creating a casual breakfast. He was deliberately recreating the scene of Peter's greatest failure.
The timing of it all seems so intentional too. After a completely unsuccessful night of fishing, Jesus shows up and helps them bring in this enormous catch, 153 fish, to be exact.
Well, speaking of numbers, this threefold restoration mirrors the 3 denials perfectly. But what many people miss is the sophisticated wordplay happening in the Greek text between agape and phileo, love.
That linguistic detail really changes how we understand the conversation. Could you break down why that distinction matters so much?
So Jesus starts by asking for agape, this ultimate sacrificial love, while Peter responds with phileo, which is more like deep friendship. It's like Peter has learned not to make grandiose promises anymore.
The humility in that response is pretty striking compared to the Peter we see earlier in the Gospels, who is always making bold declarations.
And here's what's really interesting. Historical records suggest that this conversation had such a profound impact that Peter later requested to be crucified upside down, feeling unworthy to die in the same manner as Jesus.
That transformation is remarkable, from the guy who couldn't even admit to knowing Jesus to someone willing to die in such a brutal way for his faith.
You know what's particularly relevant for today? The way Jesus handles Peter's comparison trap when he asks about John's fate. In our social media age, we're constantly tempted to measure our journey against others.
That's such a good point about social media. Jesus' response, "What is that to you? You follow me," feels even more needed today than ever.
Well, biblical scholars have noted that this exchange represents the longest recorded post-resurrection conversation between Jesus and any individual, which really emphasizes its significance.
The way Jesus reinstates Peter is pretty remarkable too. He doesn't just forgive him, he gives him this huge responsibility to feed my sheep.
And that phrase, feed my sheep, actually carries deeper meaning in the original language. It's about complete pastoral care, not just providing food. Jesus is essentially handing Peter the keys to leading the early church.
That's such a powerful picture of restoration, from complete failure to complete trust and responsibility.
Early church writings tell us that Peter went on to become one of the most influential leaders in Christian history, and tradition says he helped Mark write his gospel account.
The whole story really challenges our modern notion of cancel culture, doesn't it? Here's someone who publicly failed, yet was publicly restored.
And what's particularly beautiful is how this restoration happened over a meal, something so ordinary becoming extraordinary. It's estimated that about 40% of Jesus' recorded ministry happened around meals.
That really brings it home to our everyday lives. Restoration doesn't always look like some dramatic moment. Sometimes it's as simple as breakfast on a beach.
Well, that's our story for today. Remember, whether you're carrying the weight of past failures or struggling with feeling inadequate, restoration isn't just possible, it's part of God's character. Until next time, keep following Him.